episode of Oregon Life.
Thanks for
right?
watching this episode
of Oregon Life.
Hello, I'm Frank Caruso, producer of Oregon Life, and welcome to a brand new episode. I got to go out to Dunn Farms and spend several days with Dave and Josh and Matt, and I'll tell you, by Wednesday, they've accrued 40, 50 hours easily, and that's not just a couple weeks a year, that is all year long, harvesting, working, doing different things on the farm, getting grain to the mills, taking care of the cows, the steers. You've all heard of the expression or the phrase, farm to table. Well, everything that we get in our grocery store, our restaurants, wherever you are, it's farm to table, and we are thankful, I'll tell you, for the farmers. I always was, but even more so after being with the Dunn family. Enjoy this episode of Oregon Life.
On this particular farm, I have about 4,000 bushel of corn and 2,000 bushel to sell, and then the other 2,000 bushel is stored at home for ear corn. And yeah, that would last me a year's time with only 45 steers. It's always a cost factor when you buy. You never get enough money when you sell, at least you don't think so, but then when you go to buy, it hurts. So it's nice to have some to sell and then keep the other half for feed for the animals. So I truly believe in being diversified, having a few animals and then about 4 different crops to sell.
What I love about farming, I think stems back to when I was a kid helping Dad on the dairy farm. We were always with him, watching him and helping him do the work. And we just enjoyed being out in the fields and being around the animals. And me and my brother wanted to start our own business. 2005, we had the opportunity to rent about 25 acres up the road, and that's how we got started. We had already been doing some custom combining for a few years before that. When it comes to farming, you plant your crop in the spring. You don't know what the outcome is going to be. You might lose money, you might make a little money, or aren't able to pay ourselves much of a wage. Sometimes if we have a good year, at the end of the year, we can take some money out of our farm account, but we actually rely on off-farm jobs for income.
Hi, I'm Josh Dunn, and we're here harvesting corn. I have an 8-row corn head here, and I planted with an 8-row corn planter. So what I'm looking for is my rows that I planted that's going to match up with a corn planter, because I plant by hand, and you can see it's a touch wider between the planter passes, so that will keep the corn head on the exact rows of the planter pass. So when I'm going, I look for that, and once I'm on those rows, I keep those rows, and I'm basically driving right in line with the corn rows. This combine does have an auto steer feature. However, I need sensors on the corn head to activate the auto steer when harvesting corn. So when I'm harvesting other crops with the grain heads, such as soybeans or wheat, I actually have the auto steer feature where I turn it on the end and it will guide itself straight across the field. The corn is getting to close to optimal moisture. It's about 16%. Which means there's not going to be a whole lot of drying costs, because for storage, to sell right away, they base it off of 15% moisture, and so they will charge a drying and shrink charge to 15%, but we're only 16 to 17%, so it's going to be a very minimal drying charge this year in this particular field anyhow. And this particular field was the first field of corn that I planted this year, and this is actually a neighbor's corn who's hired me to plant and harvest. But corn is my favorite. Probably a lot of farmers' favorites too. Corn? Yeah. kind of traditional in the Midwest. You know, all the talk about how the corn yields are and what areas are good and what areas are bad. When you think about it, you only have so many years to grow a crop. And
my brother is combining for our neighbor Steve, and after the wagons are full, the corn has to be taken into Belleville to Alcivia, that's where it's sold. So Steve is hauling with his tractor and wagons, and then we got our tractor and wagon here to help haul in order to keep my brother going. Okay, so Dad is pulling on the scale now, and they weigh the loaded wagon. So that probe sucks a little corn out of there, and then they take a sample to test for the moisture and the test weight, if there's any damage or foreign material. If there's enough damage or foreign material, they'll dock your pail. The wet corn lane, it'll go into the dryer before it goes into the bins, because it has to be dried down enough that it will, not spoil. About 15% moisture. So here they are unloading.
corn harvest is definitely the highlight of my year. As a farmer, every year is a cycle, and obviously we get one harvest every year. And corn to me is very enjoyable to harvest, and you watch the crop grow all year, and you wait to see how it yields, how your quality is. So this is probably the most enjoyable time to be in the field for me. I've become fascinated with combines. I enjoy watching the crop come in at the front of the combine and end up as grain in the bin.
Watching this episode of Oregon Life.
Thanks for
Right?
watching this episode
Episode of Oregon Life.